It's time again for the Insiders with Chuck Chvala and Scott Jensen, sponsored by the Wisconsin Counties Association and the Tommy G. Thompson Center on Public Leadership.
Hi, I'm Scott Jensen, former Assembly Speaker.
And I'm Chuck Chvala, former Senate Majority Leader.
And we're the Insiders. And this week we're going to take a look at what Governor Evers' final year might look like in office. Chuck, how do you think what do you think he's going to do with that asset, that last year he has of power as the governor of this great state?
You know, I think it's going to be a nice opportunity because he's not running for reelection to be able to kind of do this without a lot of partisan anger going at him. But and when people run and they don't win, so it's a great opportunity for him to basically kind of think about the things that he'd like to have in his legacy. And governors and presidents in their last year always have an opportunity to do things that might not be available to them at another time. Governor Evers, as I've many times said, is probably the nicest man, and they're all men, who have served as governor of the state of Wisconsin. And I think that you'll see that as he moves through the year. He's always been a thoughtful man. He's always been focused, of course, on education. He has a couple of daughters. I think at least one of them is a doctor. So he's a bright guy. He's a thoughtful guy. He's a caring guy. I expect you're going to see a lot of compassion from him. Now, legislatively, what will happen? Well, this is a difficult time because in the spring session, Republicans are clearly focused, and even more so now than it used to be in the past, on basically setting up their agenda for the fall. And I don't think that Robin Vos and the other Republicans' aggressive tactics of going after Governor Evers will stop. But I do believe that there will be an opportunity for at least a few things that can be done on a bipartisan basis, and the governor will be open to that. So there will be some good things that will be done here in the spring session. There might even be a couple of things that'll be done that maybe couldn't be done politically otherwise if the Republicans are willing to take a risk and do that. But I think it will be a good last year. I think Governor Evers has had a steady hand. I think one of the reasons why he's been popular and why he's been reelected is that people see the kindness and goodness in him. They like to see that in their executive, especially at a time where things are difficult nationally. And I think that you'll continue to see that from him. And I think people will be happy about that because of all of the froth of what's going around, even in our neighbor state, Minnesota, right now. So I think that what you're going to see is a good year, a good final year from him that people will be proud of, and they'll be happy to say, Governor Evers, job well done. Thank you very much.
Well, I think, I think there's a couple signs that suggest that the governor's not going to come forward with a big new set of agenda items and try to get them done in the little bit of time that is left in this year. He's more likely to, take a victory lap around the state, which he clearly deserves, not just for the 8 years as governor, but for the many years he served as the superintendent. He's been a public servant for a long time. He's probably just really relieved to not be on the ballot for once. So I already see things that suggest that this is going to be like a year-long retirement party / victory lap for the governor. I mean, he scheduled his State of the State speech for the latest that any governor has ever scheduled it. It's actually it's scheduled for the middle of the last week of the legislative session in the state assembly. So the speech, he's not going to affect the agenda anyway. That's usually where you roll out your agenda. That would be too late to roll out an agenda. So my guess is that that's an opportunity for him to review what has happened over his 8 years as governor, remind people of the good things that he feels he's accomplished in the state. I also see it in his travels around the state now. The sort of events he's doing are sort of embracing events. It's like, I'm in this town. I love to see you people again. Here's a check. These people are doing a great job. See you later. Those sort of happy things. Just it's sort of wrapping things up in a way of patting people on the back, saying they did a good job. I enjoyed working with you. That's already seemed to have started here. Good on him. He can do that for the next year. I think he's also signaled that by his suggesting that he's not going to be engaged in the Democratic primary for governor. He's not going to pick a favorite there. That also then sort of takes him out of the mainstream media attention. So I think it's going to be a long victory lap for the governor after a long career in politics.
I think Scott is right about that, and it's consistent with what I'm saying. I do think, though, that part of the reason for this is the governor knows that Robin Vos has never wanted to give him a win. and won't at this point either, even on the exit from the Capitol. So I think he realizes that why have a fight with someone who is in no way ever going to compromise with an agenda that you want to put forward. So rather than fighting an unwinnable fight, I think he'd rather set the tone. And frankly, with everything else that is so just wild going on around the country right now, I think that may be the wisest move for Governor Evers. It is who he is, but it will also stand in contrast to what's happening elsewhere. And even though he won't be articulating it, I think what it also says to people is, would you like to keep this very calm, good atmosphere going in Wisconsin? Or would you like to give it over to Republicans and create chaos? Without saying that, he's going to be able to do that. And that's a pretty powerful message that I think people have really enjoyed from Governor Evers over 8 years. So it will be interesting to see. But I agree with Scott. I think it's going to be, let's go around the state, thank people for their service, and let's thank Governor Evers, as Scott points out, not just for his 8 years as governor, but for his many years as a school superintendent, for his many years as heading up the Department of Public Instruction. He's a good man, and it's nice to be able to send him off in a good way.
Well, and I think when the governor looks back on his career and announces, highlights the victories that he had over that time, there are Republicans going to remember, yeah, we were the ones who cast those votes and put that on your desk so that you could sign it, and they'll take credit for it, just like he's going to take credit for it. That's the way it works in politics. And the governor called the last state budget a pro-kids state budget. He called it a bipartisan budget and an accomplishment. I think you're going to see the Republicans embrace that rhetoric as well.
All right. We'll see it in the election. We'll see you next time, folks.
You've been listening to The Insider with Chuck Chvala and Scott Jensen, sponsored by the Wisconsin Counties Association and the Tommy G. Thompson Center on Public Leadership.